Hello everyone, I'm Brian Langel. I'm CTO and co-founder of Dash Labs. So Dash Labs started last July. The other co-founder and I are actually working for a media company, and we were going to test some hardware software that we had created. It's a boxing application, so you put a sensor under a boxer's glove and it measures speed and force. We were driving up to Mohegan Sun. I was driving in my '98 Volkswagen Passat. I bought it for $500. It's kind of a jalopy. It's kind of beat up. And my co-founder isn't really familiar with driving. And so he was a little skittish in the car and a little worried about my driving and pulling onto the BQE and driving up. And so he at one point yelled at me like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And, "Oh, what? No, you're what?" I was a little freaked out. I was like, what's wrong? We're fine. And so we got into this discussion of what is driving? How do you quantify it? Am I a bad driver? Most people think you're a bad driver based on the amount of miles you've driven relative to the amount of crashes, which is kind of ridiculous assessment of being a good driver. Because there could be, oh, well, everyone else is actually very defensive around you. And had they not been defensive, you would have gotten a lot of accidents. So we got discussing, okay, there's all this data in a car. Cars are computers on wheels these days. Where is this data going? So you may have heard of like Ford Sync and some other platforms, but they presented us a problem. Like, we wanted to get this data. We wanted to expose this data to people. But how do you do that? Because if you develop for Ford Sync, well, then you're only a Ford platform. And if you have to make deals with all the manufacturers, that's not the business we wanted to be in. So what we realized then was there's something really awesome called the OBD2 port. I don't know if you're familiar, but if you've ever gone into your mechanic and they've fixed your car, you've probably seen it. So we found out about this port, which I'll tell you about, and we are very, very excited. Let me see. There we go. Ooh. Aha. So welcome to Dash. So Dash Labs is building a connected car platform. We want to expose this data. So this OBD2 port, I'm holding one right here, this is a $15 piece of hardware. You can buy it today on Amazon. What we want to do is have consumers buy this, plug this into your car, and we make iOS, Android applications that then extract all the data from your car, expose that to you in a way that you can understand, leverage, helping you make better informed decisions about your driving, making you safer and smarter. And in doing that, we then will build up this data set in this SDK that we then expose to other developers. So the fact that this exists, the government mandated this in 1996. So all cars in the US, 1996 and afterwards, have to have this. This port is accessible 3 feet from the steering wheel. It's open in that it doesn't take a mechanic or a screwdriver or anything. You plug it in. So why haven't developers started doing things with this? Well, truthfully, once I started looking into this, and a little bit of hubris, I think I'm a good developer, but it's a complicated spec. There's a lot of things going on, and as a developer, I don't want to be bit flipping and figuring out and doing all these things just to get my speed at a given point in time. So we're doing that. We're abstracting that away. And there's other interesting things you can do with a car if you have some of these codes from the manufacturers. You can actually control the car in certain ways. You can turn off headlights. You can raise and lower the volume of the car. And so what we're doing at Dash is building that out, abstracting that, and exposing that to developers. To do that, we need users. We need to make this platform compelling to developers so that we can then expose to them an SDK with users and with data that they can access. And so we need a Trojan horse. We need a consumer application that users will plug in. And so some of the problems we see with driving is the expensiveness of it, the confusing when the engine light alert goes on. No one knows what that means. Is that going to ruin their day? Do they have to pull over, call in the boss, "Hey, sorry, I gotta take my car. The engine light's flashing." And it's dangerous, like I was mentioning before. And so we feel that what we need to do is create a consumer application that addresses some of these issues. And that'll be a compelling thing for consumers to purchase this piece of hardware. So you can think of us as hardware, software, and service. So we want to be hardware agnostic. There's many of these devices, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. We want to work with them all. There's inroads we're making with companies that do this for fleet solutions. And so far, our application works with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi versions. And then we're going to build up the software, like I said, an SDK for the developers. And then we have services in the back end that other people can leverage to look into this data, to mine it, things like that. And so to that end, we don't want to be a hardware developer, but we're pushing the art of the possible with hardware. So we're working with an electrical engineer that we've worked with in the past to push what this can be. So by May 10th, we're going to have a prototype that we'll be testing that has Bluetooth 4 so that connectivity to the phone is minimized in terms of battery drain. It'll have GPS so that you don't even have to have your GPS on, and you can get that information. As well as on the Android platform, you can actually expose that to other applications, and you would then be able to have Google Maps navigation up and running without even using GPS on your phone. We're gonna push the art of the possible, and we make inroads with the current manufacturers of this hardware to then offer that. And so what we're doing now is building out, like I said, this Trojan horse, this consumer application that addresses engine light alerts. It addresses improvements in eco-driving as well as safety in terms of if you get in a crash. So what we're doing is if the engine light alert goes on, we're going to tell you exactly what that means in terms that you can understand. Engine light comes on, hey, that's a spark plug issue. We'll give you that piece of information. We'll give you criticality. Is this something I need to pull over right now and call the mechanic? If so, we'll help you. We'll call AAA on your behalf. Or is this just something that, oh, I should fix within the next month? Let me know the ramifications of why this engine light's on. And the third thing then, when the engine light is on, what's this in terms of monetary value? So we're going to give you an estimate in terms of price, parts and labor breakdown for your area. The other thing is while you're driving, we're collecting this data and we're giving you information about your driving habits. So as you drive, say you drive to the grocery store and back, you can launch the Dash app after that. And as a technical side note, this all works. Once you pair it with this hardware, it works in the background. You don't have to launch the app. It's passively collecting this data on your behalf. But then if you launch the app, you can look at your historical drives and say, oh, I see, I just drove to the grocery store and back. I got 20 miles per gallon. My car for city driving should have gotten 24. And we'll detail why. Oh, maybe you hard broke at this point, and we'll lay that out on the map. And perhaps you're idling for too long at a stoplight. And I should say, these current pictures were the design mock-up, and now what I'm going to show you is we have an iOS version ready for beta testers, and we have 50-plus beta testers of it currently, and we want to expand that. So if you're interested in that, please shoot me an email at brian@dash.by, because we can help get you some hardware as well as on the list of beta testers. And so what I'm going to show you now is what our application looks like on iOS currently. And we're constantly iterating. Great thing, we're part of Techstars as well, like Alex from PlaceMeter, and we're constantly iterating and pushing out new features, and so you'll see that if you become a beta tester. So you see when you launch the screen, you get a driving score, you get some roll-ups of terms of what you've done, and then you get a list of your drives, and you can see things change. And that's Dash. Here's a detailed view of your trip. And so anyway, go to our website, check us out, and help us make a connected car platform. Thank you.